Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. जय श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. So Hare Krishna, dear Prabhujis, dear devotees, dear friends. So we are reading the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, contents of the Gita summarized. And in our last session, we read the 26th verse. Atachayanam nityajatam nityam va manyate mrisam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tam mahabaho nainam sochitum arhasi. If however you think that the soul is perpetually born and always dies, still you have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. So the next verse is another very beautiful verse, the 27th verse. Lord Shri Krishna, he continues, he says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad aparihare arthe na tvam sochitum arhasi. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्माद् अपरिहारे अर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि. So another very beautiful verse. Jatasya, one who has taken his birth, he certainly, dhruva, a fact, mrityuhu, death, dhruvam, it is also a fact, janma, birth, mritasya, of the dead, cha, also, tasmat, therefore, aparihare, for that which is unavoidable, arthe, in the matter of, na, do not, tvam, you, sochitum, to lament, arhasi, deserve. So for one who has taken his birth, death is certain. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Tasmad aparihare arthe na tvam sochitum arhasi. So another very beautiful verse. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So in the purport, Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes, one has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, the cycle of birth and death is revolving, one after the other, without liberation. This cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war, but at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in the human society for keeping law and order. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts. of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. So, very beautiful verse. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर ध्रुवम जन्म मृतस्य च जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर ध्रुवम जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मात् अपरिहार्य अर्थे न त्वं शोचितुम अर्हसि. So in one way Lord Sri Krishna, he is giving more importance, or actually prescribed duties are more important than birth and death, because death is certain for anyone who has taken birth. Lord Sri Krishna is describing जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर जातस्य हि जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर. Anyone who has taken birth will surely die. Anyone who has taken birth will surely die. Therefore, in unavoidable discharge of one's duties, prescribed duties, one should not lament. So Lord Sri Krishna is actually motivating Arjunji in that way. And very beautiful verse. Everyone will die. While living, all of us, we tend to forget this. Because actually the soul is Nitya, Sanatana. So all of us, because actually human beings or any beings, living entities are Sanatana, eternal, and they do not die. What dies is the body. So nobody actually thinks of death. But for one who has taken birth, jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur, death is certain. So we live life in a way that we tend to forget. When Yudhishthir Maharaj was asked this question, what is the most surprising thing in this world, or most astonishing thing? So Yudhishthir Maharaj, he replied, ahani ani bhutani gacchanti yamalayam shesh sthavram ikshanti kim ascharya matham param. What can be more surprising than this? We see every day so many people are gacchanti yamalayam. Ahani ani bhutani gacchanti yamalayam shesh sthavram ikshanti. Every day we see so many people are dying in the world. But still, those who are living, they think that they are Shesh Thavram Ikshanti. They think that they will live eternally. And nobody want to discuss. Everyone is afraid of discussing about death because it generates fear. It generates fear in the heart. Since no one actually wants to die, because every living entity, either human being or any living entity, because every living entity is eternal. So, truly speaking, no one wishes to, or nobody wants to die. But death is also inevitable. It comes on its own, and Lord Sri Krishna here is saying जातस्य ही ध्रुवो मृत्युर. One who has taken birth, death is certain. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain. And for one who is dead, birth is certain. So that knowledge also we do not have at the present age, at least. For one who is dead, birth is also certain. Tatha dehantara praptir, Lord Sri Krishna explained in the previous verses. Because the soul or the living being is actually nitya, is shashvata, is eternal, is sanatanaha. So here Lord Sri Krishna actually he is giving more importance, because birth and death, it is happening continuously. Every living entity, they live for a certain period of time and then they die, they take birth again, and then they again live for a certain period of time in a particular body, and they again die. So birth and death is continuously happening. But one's duties, one's actions in life are very, very important, because they decide what next birth or what next body one will get. Either one will elevate himself or one will degrade. That depends on one's actions, one's deeds done in a life. Swami Shrila Prabhupada, he begins, one has to take birth according to one's activities of life. Karmana devanetrena jantur deho upapatte. One takes a particular birth as per his activities of life. Karmana, as a result of his activities, one get a particular body in the next life. Urdham gachanti satvastha madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya guno vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. That science will Lord Sri Krishna will also explain. That is explained very nicely in the Vedic literatures. And yam yam vapi smarana bhavam tyajate antakalevaram tam tam eveti konteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. What consciousness one has at the time of death, that body one gets in the next life. So one has to take birth according to one's activities of life, and after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. After finishing one term of activities, and this cycle is going on continuously, one after another, one after another, one after another. Swami Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. In this way, the cycle of birth and death is revolving one after another without liberation. Unless one living entity comes in touch with the real transcendental knowledge, it is not possible to liberate oneself from the cycle of birth and death. And for that reason, Vedas and scriptures, they are meant so that living entities, they should inquire, why I am dying, athato brahma jigyasa. Why sufferings are imposed, even though I do not want these sufferings. Adi devik, adi bhautik, adi adhyatmik kleshas, why they are forced on me, why there is a struggle for existence, what is birth and death, what happens after death. So all these inquiries, they are very, very important in the human form of life. Otherwise, those who do not inquire, Shastra says, dharmena hina pashubi samanaha. If after getting this human form of life, if one do not inquire about the absolute truth, Brahma Jigyasa, then one is as good as animal. Duipad Pashu. Shastras, they criticize those beings, those human beings who after getting this Durlabha Manusha Janma do not inquire about this subject matter, about absolute truth. So, anyways, this cycle of birth and death does not, however, so this cycle, in this way, cycle of birth and death is revolving and one after other without liberation. So, unless one gets liberated from the cycle of birth and death, he has to continue like this. Take birth, live for a certain period of time, then again die. But one's activities, one's actions are very, very important. Though Swami Shrila Prabhupada writes in the purport that violence and war are inevitable in human society for keeping law and order, but still it does not support unnecessary murder, slaughter and war. There will be some people who will break the law. Surely there will be some people who will disturb the peace of others and peace of society or country or state at large. So in order to maintain law and order, violence, war, these things are necessary. They are inevitable in the human society also. But that does not support, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, that does not support unnecessary murder, slaughter and war. That does not support unnecessary murder, slaughter or war. And Swami Srila Prabhupada writes that the war of Kurukshetra was not an unnecessary war. The war of Kurukshetra was the will of the Supreme Lord, and it was fought to re-establish the principles of religion, re-establish dharma in the society, in the country, Bharatvarsha, Mahabharata. So the war of Mahabharata or the battle of Kurukshetra was the will of the Supreme Lord and was aimed at restoring or re-establishing the principles of religion in the country, in the society. So Swami Srila Prabhupada is saying why Arjunji he should be aggrieved or he should be afraid. Arjunji is thinking that by killing his relatives he will incur sin. But actually, if he neglects his duties, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport, actions or prescribed duties are so important. Because he is a Kshatriya, he has taken birth in a very advanced family, spiritually advanced, materially advanced. So he should act as per his prescribed duties of a Kshatriya. Sometimes very, very intelligent people also, Lord Sri Krishna will explain in the forthcoming verses, Kim karma kim akarmeti kavyo apyatra mohita. Sometimes intelligent people, they are also bewildered. Very, very intelligent people, kavyo, very, very learned, they are also bewildered as to what to do or what not to do in determining. But here Lord Sri Krishna, He Himself, He is the protector of religion. And if he is asking Arjunji to fight, that means he is asking for the cause of religion. So the war of Kurukshetra is not an unnecessary war. It is a war to establish the principles of religion. And that's why Swami Shrila Prabhupada is writing why Arjunji should be afraid or aggrieved. Because in any way, if he neglects, even if he neglects his duty, because that free will, that freedom is given to every living entity, that freedom is given to even Arjunji, in that way, he can neglect. He can completely reject the instructions of Lord Sri Krishna. But if he do so, then he will surely, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, will incur sin and will degrade himself. Arjunji is thinking in opposite way, that by killing his relatives he will incur sin. But actually there is no sin involved, because the fight is for the religious principles. And when one executes his prescribed duties, he do not incur any sinful reaction. If one executes his prescribed duty as per the directions and instructions of the scriptures, then one do not incur any sinful reaction. So that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada, he writes, why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. So very, very important point. If he neglects his duty, for sure all his relatives will die one day on their own, because jatasya hi dhruva mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Very beautifully, Lord Sri Krishna is explaining, one who has taken birth will surely die. So all of Arjunji's relatives and even Arjunji will die one day, because they have accepted a body, a material body. So today or tomorrow, or after 50 years, 100 years, Swami Srila Prabhupada, everyone, whatever term, life term a person has got, after that, for sure he will die. So all the relatives, by avoiding his or neglecting his duty, Arjunji will not be able to save them permanently, or they will not live permanently. But by avoiding his duties, actually Arjunji will degrade himself. He would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. So that's why it is very, very important to understand in the human form of life the right way of action. And for that reason, Lord Sri Krishna, actually, the chapter is contents of the Gita summarized, but Bhagavad Gita itself is a summary study of all the Vedic literatures, essence or conclusion of all the Vedic literatures. And because in the age of Kali Yuga, our lifespan is very, very less, and our intelligence is not at all advanced, our lifespan is less, and we are not very intelligent to understand spiritual subject matters. That's why Lord Sri Krishna here, he is mercifully, through his friend, through his eternal friend Arjunji, he is trying to benefit the whole human society. And it is duty of every living entity, every human being, not living entity, every human being. It is the duty of every human being to properly understand the way of action, how one should act in his life, so that he can liberate himself from the clutches of birth and death. Because the cycle of birth and death goes on. The cycle of birth and death is revolving one after another without liberation. So unless one is liberated, one has to die again and again and again and again. One has to take birth, live in this world full of struggles and sufferings, miseries. Then old age, disease, and like that the cycle will go on and on and on unless one liberate himself. So if one learns the proper way of action, then there are chances that one can come out of this cycle of birth and death and can get a eternal, peaceful, happy life, free from all anxieties, in the direct association of the Supreme Lord in his various Vaikuntha planets, which are beyond this material sky. So it is very, very important for everyone to understand the science of soul, super soul, Supreme Lord, and Bhagavad Gita is the right source for everyone, those who want to understand and those who want to benefit themselves. Because and if one will not be liberated, at least one will promote himself, or one will elevate himself to higher standard of life in his next life, higher lokas, and one will be saved from degrading himself. So very beautiful verse. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad aparihare arthe. In unavoidable discharge, that is also very important. Because when the duties come, we have to, if we do not discharge, if we do not execute our duty, if one neglects or run away from his prescribed duty, then he gets, even in this life, he gets defaming and Lord Sri Krishna will explain in the forthcoming verses. So anyways, akirti, apayash, one has to face all these things. So it is tasmad aparihare arthe, for that which is unavoidable, tasmad aparihare arthe natvam sochitum arhasi. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So very beautiful verse and very beautiful purport by Swami Shrila Prabhupada, very beautiful explanation, wonderful points. So with this I would like to stop here. We will take up another verse in our next session and we'll try to read and assimilate transcendental knowledge through the teachings and purports of Swami Shrila Prabhupada. So Jai Vishnupad Parabhans Parivarjakacharya Ashtrotra Shat Shri Srimati Divine Grace Abhay Charnar Vind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shrila Prabhupada Ji ki Jai. All glories to Krishna Kripa Murti, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charnar Vind, Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Shrila Prabhupada. All glories to Lord Shri Krishna, all glories to Bhagavad Gita, all glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Holy Name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.